Per usual, every other show is for educational purposes only and is not intended as financial advice. It is Head of Sunday. Let's take a look at some charts. Kind of waited a minute because we opened on futures and promptly sold off 4 or 5%. So we'll take a look at that in a second. Don't have an answer there other than maybe China, maybe something in Japan, maybe some carry trade unwinding. Who knows? But on flows last week for BTC on the ETFs, we were positive for the first time in 4 or 5 weeks. Now, this is nothing to like write home to Ma about. It's barely positive, but it's in the right direction, right? A single week isn't going to make or break us. It's just a string of positive or a string of negative that really sets the tone most of the time. ETH was also positive after being negative for multiple weeks, really 6 weeks. It's kind of just done nothing. So it's good to see money coming back in. The question is always going to be, okay, how many more weeks are we going to need to feel confident? Is this enough that we've bottomed? I don't think so. Price is still going down. Obviously, ETFs aren't everything. They're a significant part of the market. Absolutely. So we'd probably need ETH somewhere in $1 billion on the week. We'd probably need BTC $2 billion on the week to really matter. Until then, it's kind of just probably chopped noise. On funding rates, we do have a history of bottoming in the bull market since 2023 when funding rates flipped negative. Currently, they are negative, at least they were. You can see all the little red ticks here. Most of the time after we've flipped negative, after prolonged periods of down or chop, it's usually the bottom. Usually it's people either giving up or people shorting too late. So now obviously I'd like to say, well, clearly funding is negative here and it will help us, but it doesn't seem to matter. There are other things that supersede whatever's going on market dynamics. If global markets are selling off for whatever reason, that just is what it is. We are part of that, can't not be a part of that, unfortunately, if we want to maintain our size. And we're just going to jump around because, all this stuff's connected anyway, so what does it even matter? But on the macro side, we do have the 1210 meeting coming back into a cut by a pretty significant margin. We'll see if this flips based on any random data point that's delayed from the government this week. But as of now, as of Sunday, we are headed towards a cut with 10 days to go in the meeting. It would be unusual if this were to flip significantly. I think Jay actually has a speech somewhere tomorrow where he may hint at something. If they ever see these odds way, way, way off where they actually are internally, they will make it a point to say it publicly or to tell somebody in newspaper land to say it publicly. So at this point, we're headed for a cut. And the more we're headed for a cut versus a hike or a hold, DXY is probably set to be slightly weaker. That's probably a good rule of thumb. Looking at this just in a vacuum, chart still looks incredible. DXY looks like it wants to go higher. As long as it can hold above the cloud, great. You could argue maybe some sort of head and shoulders here, shoulder, head, shoulder. But it is still consolidating. It still hasn't gone anywhere since March, really. And the cloud still likes it. So anything above 100, and I would assume more dirt nap type activity for BTC and alts. If this can fail, BTC should love that because we're connected at the hip, right? Here's the ES since the open, just straight down, just no chaser, straight down since the open. And that's why BTC is down, most likely. Just everything getting dragged down together all at once. It didn't happen before futures open. It happened after futures open. We were setting up for a pattern in the defense of TA and the head and shoulders and chart patterns everywhere. This wasn't a breakout yet. I didn't move the line. It's just like it didn't make a higher high. So if you're ever wondering, oh man, this looks really good, should I cheat this a little bit and go long? It's usually better to nibble and then add a breakout if you're super confident. This is low time frame. The pattern itself is kind of iffy. The head and shoulders police are going to come after me. They're going to say, Josh, this wasn't a right shoulder. This was a BART. I told you it was a BART. Okay, fine. Right. Whatever. I can't look at this and not think we're trying to bottom, right? Same thing over here. We tried to bottom and then just couldn't figure it out. That's where we stand right now. So we were setting up for that. And now we wait, right? This could morph into an Adam and Eve. It could morph into a broader inverted head and shoulders. It could morph into just a vanilla divergence on the daily, which we don't quite have yet. You could call this an Adam left. That's what it's called. the left part of the VU. I would love to see a scooperoni somewhere between 83 to 92 over the next, I don't know, whatever. Take your time, right? I don't care how long it takes, as long as I can be confident enough to actually like put money on it, right? That's what you really want at the end of the day. You don't want 10,000 trades a day. You want one trade you can really lever up and be confident. And, back here, we had several of these like Adam left type stabs lower, eventually stabilized. That took months. I think we're going to know our answer here pretty quick, like by the end of the year, what's going on. If this is a liquidity issue still or whatever, right? But it's still too early on the daily to do anything. Now, there is a TK C-clamp here. The TK separation is pretty far. That just means things are very oversold, just like they were very overbought back here. If you want to standardize this and normalize this, you can look at every time on the daily when the TK lines spread apart, what is the market's mean appetite for that separation? I'd say it's about, I don't know, whatever that is, 15%, 30%. You can measure it, but this is how bottoms start to form. I'd love to see a div. I'd love to see continuation on pattern. We did have that abandoned baby on IBIT that pulled up, did decently well, but it still feels like we're fighting, we're struggling. We're below the daily cloud. You should expect bad things to happen below the daily cloud. MSTR is at a really interesting spot, not from an MNAV perspective, not from a break-even BTC perspective. I don't care about any of that. All I care about is this in front of you right now, which is the VPVR volume profile of 2024, multiple months just chopping around, chop, chop, chop. All of that is now, for the moment, acting as a support. Now, again, I would love to see like more puke. Why not, right? Just if you're going to puke for 4 months straight, puke a little more. Give me a wick, give me a div, give me something. There's not a div here yet, at least on the daily. This is probably good enough for most people to start to think about nibbling if you assume crypto isn't going to zero, which certainly isn't all of you, but could MSTR be in trouble down the line? Sure, if BTC goes to like 10K and sits there, right? So yeah, there are risks here. It is early. It may never recover, right? There's other ways to get BTC leverage now. The MNAV may just be sticky at 1 forever until the end of time. We are down significantly. Doesn't mean we can't go significantly more, but we are down significantly over a couple month period. Usually a good time to start investigating some opportunities. That's all I'm saying. So it's nice that it's sitting there at the VPVR level. As far as ETH goes, alts across the board, nothing looks great here. You would think if this market was going to bounce, it would have done so seemingly relative to this parabolic puke pattern, right? Yeah, it's still below the daily cloud, still decently sized TK C-clamp favoring a reversal. Don't quite have a div here yet on the daily. We're starting to stab back into this previous breakout level. Like, is there anything to me that's screaming, this looks like a great setup, a great trade? Not today. I think we're going to need to see the next probably 14 candles, right? It might take 2 weeks. It might take 2 weeks. If we can get back above 3,100, great. But ultimately, the promised land is up here at 39. That's above the daily cloud. That is miles away. You can play around down here all you want. That's not where I care to do anything. Just like the DXY. Like, why do I care about this? Well, it was down for a year and then did nothing for 6 months. Momentum was extremely bearish, stabilized, and has been stabilizing. It's usually a good sign for a bottom reversal attempt. On the 4 hour, it's another way to watch this, is just look at a lower time frame and pop on some trend metrics. This really has struggled to stay above the cloud. So one would think a decent trade to take, NFA, would be, if this can get back above the daily 4 hour cloud, maybe take a little stab. Maybe this morphs into an inverted head and shoulders down here, but too early to tell. So again, nothing really to say or do on ETH. BMNR is also pretty interesting. This is the hourly. It's the famed parabolic downward pitchfork. It's out of that, had the pattern, broke out, right? It looked really, really good. Still looks really, really good. It's not going to open at 33 tomorrow, I can tell you that. But if I'm ever taking a stab on a move down, it is at no point until it breaks the parabola. It just doesn't make sense, right? Like, this can just keep going, keep going, keep going. To be upset that this doesn't continue or doesn't reverse down here is silly, because this, in my opinion, is a decent place to take a stab. But it is also a momentum trade. So if ETH is rolling over to the downside, it's unlikely that BMNR is going to do well. And ETH-BTC also is at a little precarious spot here on a cliff below the cloud, trying to break down again, the setup to me is super clear here. If this can make a higher high anytime this century, love it. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love BMNR over MSTR. I love ETH over BTC. I love leverage. I love it all, right? Gimme. But we're not there yet. We're not there yet. Last time we had that, July, great move. No guarantee we're going to see that now, but if this, then that. If we can get a move above the cloud, I like it a lot. And here's BMNR over MSTR, ETH, on leverage effectively. I think BMNR is doing better because they're just gobbling up more ETH on a relative basis than MSTR could even imagine on a relative basis. Like MSTR cannot continue to buy at a pace it was buying historically. So the BMNR balance sheet, I guess you can think about it, is expanding quicker than MSTR, at least in coin terms. The BMNR chart also looks like it's trying to bottom. It doesn't look like MSTR. It's just like sitting on the bottom in Mariana's Trench in free fall, right? So again, this even on leverage favors ETH over BTC, at least for the time being. For Sol, what are you going to do? Nothing, right? It's just super aggro, whatever this is, degree angle of downward channel. You're hoping for a div, you're hoping for anything. But if it's anything like February, March, April, that took 3 stabs down and it went from 160 to 100. Kind of the same thing here. Like this could see 100 again. I don't think that'd be out of the question. Tried to bounce, failed so far. So really nothing to do. And again, on the 4 hour, just pop on some low time frame trend metrics. I don't see anything worth trading here. The setup that would have been good to trade would have been, again, the IHS here that just didn't break out. So, I don't know. Nothing to do. Nothing really looks that good on crypto. For legacy, this was one thing that caught my eye this week, along with IWM, because IWM is connected to ETH movement. If you think of IWM over QQQ, similar to ETH over BTC, it kind of has the same vibe. But this is RSP, which is the equal weight. And even the equal weight negated its own head and shoulders. Now, this is going to open down on Monday, but this is what you want to see for bullish continuation instead of bearish reversal. Just like a no doubt about it, tried to break down, failed, broke up. So if this then can continue, that means breadth is expanding. So we'll see if that happens this week, because RSP only does this when effectively everything else in the basket is doing better than just the top names. It takes a lot for the RSP to move like this. Here's IWM, and this is what you want to see. Broke down in and out of the cloud real quick. You don't have a bullish GK cross here yet, but this is a very, very good sign for ETH, in my opinion. And this is relative to rate odds shifting from a hold to a cut. Looking at gold, I think back in October, I was saying it's going to take a couple months just based on that move. I mean, it takes a minute to digest something like that from August to October. This move here that's setting up kind of reminds me of coming into 2025, where it just tried to chop around a little bit and then couldn't quite break down. And this didn't even look ever as bad as this did. So gold still looks good. I don't know what the trade is here. Maybe this is a W. Maybe you can measure this from 44 to 38 and fib it out, right? Like there are levels to watch. I'm not as confident as in this breakout as I was back here or here, because again, you have a bullish GK recross price above cloud. Here you have a bullish GK recross price above cloud. You also have a pattern. You have a ascending triangle. You have all sorts of fun stuff here, right? This is more just like we're bouncing now and we're going up. Maybe it's China, maybe it's something else, but gold looks great. Silver broke out. Massive cup and handle here. Multi-month on silver. Little fun inverted head and shoulders there in the bottom of the cup as well. But this is what you want breakouts to look like. Like, just no doubt about it. You want the market to give you time to buy the breakout, but this is not like, wishy-washy. This is obviously a higher high. I think that's a new all-time high. No doubt about it, right? You don't want to ever have to guess what's going on there. A few other individual names I'm watching. I think Boyle still looks good. When I talk about leverage, everybody's like, oh man, yeah, leverage, love it. Depending on the person, the book, the size, to sit in this for an extended period of time or any leverage ETF is a personal decision. But I still like where this sits and where this looks in the cloud. This to me is a bearish to bullish reversal in the making. And I'm willing to sit here and just eat volatility because I don't know when and where and why this would break up. Is it seasonal? Is it war stuff? Is it AI stuff? Who knows? This could take another 2-3 months. So maybe you size it appropriately. Maybe you add on a higher high. Maybe it shops around and does nothing. I don't know. Still looks good to me. Still looks fine. HYG bouncing around to bonds. Similar to RSP, if junk bonds are breaking back up, despite looking like they were ready to just go to the core, that's typically a very good sign for risk assets. So it would be unusual, I would think, if this were to break back down to 80, but I would set an alert at like 80.2. And if we break 80.2, it's probably unlikely that BTC is headed back to 100K. This is a very good barometer for risk markets. Something else worth watching this week is what happens to the 10-year. The 10-year briefly broke back down below 4% again. The TA on this would favor, again, a bearish to bullish reversal, which would be higher yield, which is not what we want to see on the 10-year. This is the risk-free rate. It's what everything is measured against outside of, say, the 2-year yield. This has been consolidating for multiple years here, kind of refuses to go down. But if this makes a higher high above 410, I think, again, another reason that markets would not be super happy. They do not want to see, markets don't want to see the 10-year above 4.25, above 4.5. And you may remember what happened going into 2025 when the 10-year threatened a breakout. But the tough part, again, is this wishy-washy, what's going to happen, uncertainty. If it's above 4.5, people start panicking and realizing, okay, maybe the Fed's going to intervene or somebody's going to intervene, right? If it's below 4, happy days, everything's fine. But this like 425 to 450 area, I think would make people super nervous if that started to break up again. And speaking of leverage and bonds, this is the 10-year, 7 to 10-year Treasury 3X levered ETF. It's going to look different than IEF or any other bond ETF because it is levered. It's got vol drag. It's got disconnect from the underlying. And TA on this stuff is dangerous because of that. But however, this chart looks insane to me. It's just phenomenal. You're getting a weekly breakout for the first time in, what is that? Since COVID. And I'm just supposed to turn an eye to this? Like, no, this is what we live for, folks, right here in the cloud system. So I like small sizing on this NFA. I like adding as long as this continues to hold and break up. Any new lower low, and I'm out. It's not for me. But if this can continue to hold, continue to turn up, curl up, show up, I'm all there. Love it, love it, love it. I'd put it on a watch list. Great setup. Zoom is another one. Why Zoom? Why now? I don't know. But it sort of tried to break out, kind of failed back in the range. I added last week. And again, as long as this can hold highs or hold the range, it doesn't even need to hold highs. I'm fine with it. This is some sort of complex inverted head and shoulders. The moment this breaks below 72, 74, probably a good time to pull the ripcord. But until then, again, this hasn't done anything since COVID. Hasn't done anything. Now, that doesn't mean it has to do something now or why it would. Maybe it's M&A, maybe it's who knows what, right? I just want to be in the room where it happened. I like cheating this a little bit here. This has been consolidating at this level for a year. So I do like it at this price. And finally, Rivian, quietly, I didn't really see much about it. I think all the Rivian people sort of got washed out a couple weeks ago when this sort of flip-flopped around, but still looks good, still looks fine. I like ads on this. I like ads on anything that has consolidated for multiple years and is ready to make higher highs and making higher highs. That's what I like. I do not like playing around in this. This is death, devastation, and just gross chop. It makes less sense to me to size up on this right now and just look for opportunities, right? Just wait for your pitch, take a swing. Don't just swing at crap that's flailing around at the bottom like this. That's all I got for this one. Give me a like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, and happy trading.